Welcome, everyone. Episode 14. If either of us were NBA players, one of us would be hurt at least, but we're not. Neither of us ever had a chance being 6 feet, white, a lot of things going against us. Kyle, how are you tonight?
Pretty good. Pretty good. Just got home from dinner and on the boat, so
Solid.
ready to roll. How you
Solid.
doing?
I'm good. I just had Four Rivers barbecue.
Ooh.
So very good, actually. And day 3 of sports camp completed today. That will come up later in the podcast. But yeah, there is a lot of NBA stuff to talk about, and not much of it is on the court, honestly. So you want to start with Chris Paul?
Has there been anything else that's come out since he's just in health and protocols?
Well, yeah, because both the major tweeters, Woj and Shams and so on, said there was one positive test in the NBA of the 100 and however many they tested. And for weeks and weeks it had been 0, but that one positive test happens to be the point guard, Chris Paul, which throws a serious wrench into the playoffs. So I was at sports camp this morning, and one of my employees who likes basketball comes up and he's like, "Hey, look at this about Chris Paul." I was like, "Whoa." So then I was out at a rotation and I get a notification that Kawhi has an injury and is not playing tonight. But anyhow, it's interesting because they're kind of related. Chris Paul needs as long as possible to get out of COVID protocols. So he really needs that Clippers Jazz series to go 7. But if Kawhi actually has a torn ACL, that series isn't going 7. That series is going 6. So as much as I've wanted the Clippers to be knocked out, I don't want it to happen this way. So you have any more thoughts about that?
Well, it kind of seems like every single team is going to limp into the conference finals at this point. The other thing that I wasn't sure on is it came out that Chris Paul had been vaccinated, and I know there's not 100% immunity with that, but there has been a lot of studies that it shows that it at least decreases symptoms and decreases your total affected time. So I don't know if there will be a potentially shorter protocol that he's in, or what's going to happen with that. But that's a bummer.
Yeah.
I mean, this was really looking like it was actually going to be their year, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I saw some funny tweets today about NBA Finals. By the time we get there, to be like Frank Kaminsky versus someone else, NBA and NBC. Everybody get excited, We're just, LeBron tweeted about it today. He's like, nobody listened to me. I told him it wouldn't work to bring people back this fast. And I mean, you think about it, by the time all's said and done, between COVID and injuries, you're looking at Chris Paul, Kawhi, LeBron, Anthony Davis, Embiid, Irving, Harden. I mean, the list never ends. And, it's Jamal Murray also on that list, obviously. And the Heat were banged up all year, and LeBron was on that list, really, too. He was never 100% after he got hurt. So it's tough. It's too bad.
Well, what else is tough too is if any of these injuries end up becoming serious, you're not just losing part of this year, you're losing probably most of next year.
Yeah, I mean, the Nuggets, for instance, the Nuggets are hosed because Murray's not going to play much next year either. If you Kawhi actually has a torn ACL, you're not going to play in the regular season next year. So, yeah, these are major, major injuries, and the Clippers are already on really thin ice with the way those guys are signed. And if you lose Kawhi for all of next year, and you have a rudderless team with Paul George, and your pick is in Oklahoma City, yikes! That is a mess. So a mess that I'll be happy to see, but not because Kawhi's injured. I wish no injuries on anyone. I really don't. So that's sad because we're not going to see the best basketball we could see. But it would be awesome for the Suns to get to the finals. So maybe they don't even need Chris Paul in the next round based on what's going on. So
campaign show though, I don't know about that.
It's fast as lightning, my man. Anyhow, the Sixers are up 23 points right now, which is great. So it does look like we're barreling for Sixers Nets, which is a great series, even if the teams are a little banged up. So I know we both have significant thoughts on the Bucks, but you texted me about it today, so I'm gonna let you go after watching Game 5, which was a classic. Kevin Durant, holy smokes! But it's really the Bucks that need to be talked about.
To me, that was the best, at least offensive and probably all around playoff game that I've watched in my lifetime that I actually thoroughly remember. I mean, that was insane. KD, I was truly shocked when he missed in the second half, which he wasn't taking easy shots. Like none of those were shots that he either didn't completely create by just driving to the basket or just nasty threes. I mean, the three that he hit when Harden butchered the shot clock at the end of the game,
Harden was
and it was
bad.
like a double clutch contested shot. But at the same time, I feel like it was a gritty performance by Harden. I mean, you could tell that he literally couldn't run. Like, he couldn't have sprinted if he wanted to. He could hardly bend down. He couldn't move. But they had Drew Holiday on him the entire game, which is huge
Yep.
because it was taking their best defender off someone else, even if Harden wasn't doing anything at all. And then able to hide him defensively on PJ Tucker, who didn't score the entire game. I mean, I'm sure we listened to the same podcast, but get PJ Tucker out of there.
I haven't
A
listened
little
to it
Bryn
yet.
Forbes. I mean, a little Bryn Forbes action, even Connington. I mean, you should have ISO'd Connington if you've got Harden on him at the top of the key. At least get a switch and then get the ball to whoever Harden picks up. And then the fact that Giannis, you can't be considered in the top tier if people don't guard you outside of the free throw line, and you can't post up, and you have no inside game. And if you're the screener in a pick and roll, you're actually scoring like 1.2 points off of that. That's abysmal. He doesn't do anything at all when he's not in fast breaks, or he's not in transition, or he's not just head of steam driving to the basket. And then if you have someone that's willing to give their body up, he's not effective. I mean, Blake Griffin has been incredible, not because Blake Griffin's a good defender, but because Blake Griffin's big and strong and just slides in front of him.
Yep.
His free throw shooting has been a huge issue. Yeah, it's been rough to watch, and it's made me genuinely not like him, just because it's so frustrating to watch.
It's I have a lot of thoughts. The biggest possession of the night, he gets Harden on him in the post, and Harden is strong. He's built like a tank.
But he's on one leg.
Shoots an atrocious fadeaway.
Mm-hmm.
An atrocious fadeaway after Harden waves off help. Honestly, though, the issue with the Bucks is that's coaching malpractice on that team.
Bud has to be gone.
I think you're looking at a situation where they're going to switch from Bud to a competent coach, and it's going to be like what happened in Golden State. I don't know. They're not going to win 72 games, but it's going to be like going from Mark Jackson to Steve Kerr, because there's too much talent on that team. Like with Durant and basically by himself, and let's be honest, Durant was freaking awesome last night, but with Durant by himself, it should not be able to beat that Bucks team. There's too much talent on that team. And the fact that Giannis never once ended up guarding Durant when he was just showering jumpers over everyone. Like, Durant is not that quick. So Giannis can guard him, and it's the jump shots that needed to be contested. And Tucker's like 7 inches shorter, and Middleton is 6 inches shorter, and they just never contested any jump shots. And so I don't know, like when that run was happening in the third quarter, they didn't run anything the whole quarter, and that's a coaching issue. And so to have that much talent, like, I felt like that team looked like the teams I coach in Upward Basketball. I get to practice for 1 hour a week, like, and we can't put anything in. It's like, well, good luck out there, like, I don't know. It's really frustrating.
Well, to me, you hit it right on the head as far as the biggest coaching gaffe is that you have a great defender that can match up with KD, and then you can get your abysmal offensive player out of the lineup and put in Bryn Forbes or someone that can actually shoot the ball, and then you can actually go 5 out. Or you just put Brook Lopez in the paint and you go 4 out and realize that he's actually a great paint scorer, and they have absolutely no one that can guard him.
Well, and this is the problem. This series set up as a series where Bryn Forbes couldn't play because Kyrie was going to cook him all series. They were going to get him in switches or whatever. But then Kyrie's out. This is the perfect time for Forbes to be in there, the little jitterbug guard that can shoot threes and make some stuff happen. And I don't know. It's just, to me, it's a lack of imagination. It reminds me of Bruce Brown in Philly. And it's like all of a sudden just getting Doc Rivers, who's certainly not a top coach, but a good coach. The difference is massive. Just competence sometimes is all teams that are really talented need. And so, yeah, it's frustrating. I think people think Giannis can't win, and I don't think that's true, but I think he really should be down in the post. And you say, okay, I mean, he has to develop post moves. That's on him. I mean, a lot of this stuff is on him. Standing there and staring at the rim for 30 seconds with the ball on a free throw,
or shooting wide open threes when he can't shoot threes with 18 seconds left on the shot clock.
So bad. And when the announcers who are nice all the time are like, oh my gosh,
It's one thing if you're going to shoot that shot with 5 seconds left in the shot clock and you're wide
Yeah.
open and you have no other thing to do in your offense, which their offense never has anything to do. But you're going to guard Shamit face all game, and I don't have any respect for him anymore.
No, it's
None.
frustrating. I mean, I have
Not
respect
as.
for him, but he's been in the league long enough to fix some of this stuff.
Mhm.
The issue is, and we've talked about this on this podcast before, this is a big thing with me because I run sports leagues and I talk with coaches about this all the time. People have innate instincts. Giannis does not have those instincts. He doesn't understand certain things. Now, his physical gifts are so immense that he covers up those holes really well. But when it comes down to crunch time in a playoff game, he cannot like read angles and create plays with minimal space like Durant can, or Harden can, or Kyrie can, and that's why the Nets are so incredible. Is when it comes down to it, there's too many guys to guard, and the net or the Bucks have like Drew Holiday basically.
It's Middleton basically, because Holiday's
But
been abysmal offensively this
but
series.
both of those guys are very mediocre creators. I'm like, they're not nearly on the level of any of the Nets guys. So they almost have to win those games like midway through the fourth quarter and then hold on because their offense is not going to be good at the end. So it's depressing. It's depressing. It really is. I don't want the Nets to win. It's set up perfectly for the Bucks, and they still can't beat them. And at this point, I'd almost be annoyed if the Bucks won because I don't feel like they deserve to win.
Hmm.
That's all. So Phoenix, without Chris Paul, sits and waits for the winner of Utah and the Clippers. But wouldn't it be a very Utah thing to lose this series even if Kawhi doesn't play?
And I could still see it happening if Conley doesn't come back, because the guys that are playing instead of Conley have been
Oof,
unbelievably awful.
rough.
I mean, Clarkson's minus 50 plus in this series right now.
Minus 50 plus? Is he minus
He's
or
minus
plus?
over 50.
Oh, okay. I understand.
His plus minus is that's insane through
It's
what,
really
four
bad.
games?
Really
It's
bad.
really, really bad.
Really
And
bad.
yet Niang is minus 32. They're running out of guys that can play competent playoff minutes, and and Conley was really the straw that stirred their drink this year, and it's had to be way, way, way too much one man basketball, which is not really what they do at all. And it kind of looks like the Clips have figured out how to stretch. Why am I just completely spacing on names?
Rudy?
Stretch Rudy out a little bit, and he's become a little bit less effective. So it'll be interesting to see how this series ends. And again, games are on too late, so I don't have much
Yeah,
much
not gonna
else
watch
to
it tonight.
contribute
I'm
here.
not. I have to be up at 6 in the morning. I all that being said, I just can't imagine a team helmed by Paul George winning 2 clutch playoff games. So I don't know. I don't think so. But it could just be that the Jazz lose, not that the Clippers win, because I don't see Paul George going out and snatching these games. I just don't see it. If he proves me wrong, I'll be sad, but I think I'm going to be okay. So that leads us to the East, where, it just leads us to Philly, who it looks like they're much better than Atlanta. They gave that game 4 away, but I think that series is actually going to be done in 6, as I have told Andrew many times.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that was concerning to me was that it looked like Embiid had nothing left, and that the knee was really bothering him in the second half of Game 4.
He was 8 for 8 in the first quarter today, though.
Yeah, he went 4 for 20, over 12 in the second half, but that may all be completely moot. I mean, Trae Young went 8 for 26, and they still won. The Hawks shot under 40% and still somehow won. To me, that's just on Philly having no offense, and they're going to figure it out. I don't see that there's any way that the Hawks come back and win this series.
Embiid is 9 for 11 right now with 24 points. It is 62 to 36 near halftime. So there you go. The Hawks, as soon as it was apparent that Philly was going to have the answers defensively for Trae Young, it just didn't feel like there was any way the Hawks would win that series, and they can't unless Embiid goes all the way down. So, which probably will happen in the second half today, based on what's been happening so far. So, all right, that's the NBA for now. I will say again, you lose Kawhi. We've already lost LeBron and Luka. Chris Paul has COVID. We're running out of interesting players. No offense, Donovan Mitchell and Devin Booker, and I mean Durant obviously is highly interesting. And Giannis kind of in the way a car crash is interesting, but that's about it. All right. You said you have one more crow fact for us, so lay it on us here.
So it's not really one more, but we're retiring crow facts unless someone comes up with a really, really great one, which is fine. I'll go ahead and read it if you come up with a great one. But we got 13 surprisingly weird crow facts, some of which I've already covered. So we're going to go really, really fast. And then this is going to be the end of crow facts. We're going to find something else that we're going to jump to. So
okay.
Crows can reason cause and effect, which I thought was wild, but they can actually like figure out puzzles and figure out why things are actually happening. They also understand water displacement. So they did like this little test where they put something that the crow wanted in the bottom of this cylinder, and he had to fill up the other cylinder with rocks to get rid of the water. So they can actually figure out puzzles like that. They do hold a grudge, and they pass that grudge along to other crows. I've kind of hit on that already, but they pass that down for generations and generations, so don't take off crows. And they do the exact opposite thing in that they pass on people that they like for generations and generations. Covered this, number 4, they hold funerals for the dead. They are smart enough to be paranoid, which is wild, so that they'll actually, that's kind of one of the reasons that they hold the funerals, is that they're doing an investigation because they want to make sure there's not more danger around them. They can solve complex and multi-step puzzles, which we've covered. They can fashion tools, which I thought was pretty cool. Make little tools to solve puzzles. They use social ostracism to punish selfish peers. So they have
That's outstanding.
Crows are very much known for eating babies of other birds, and that can also be other crows. So if you take another crow family off, you can be kicked out of the murder. They can exercise self-control, which is sometimes something that we can't do. So good for you, crows.
And other birds struggle with at times, like ducks.
Yep, correct. Ravens remember people that have been nice to them. Again, we already talked about that. Number 12, ravens use gestures to communicate. So they have their own little version of sign language, which I thought was kind of wild. Crows like to play, and there's this video that you had referenced in a podcast earlier where it's the crow sliding down a snowy roof, and he like picks up this, I don't know what it was, like a Tupperware lid, and he's basically snowboarding, and it's amazing. So go look that up.
Should.
And apparently 13 is the end. So watch that video. It's fantastic. And that's the end of Crow Facts 14 weeks later.
Amazing. It's been a good run. All right. So our list for the day, for the podcast for the week. I got watching with Emily last night swimming trials for the Olympics, and I realized I love the Summer Olympics. I love them. Winter Olympics, I could leave them. I don't care about the Winter Olympics, but Summer Olympics I love, and so that's coming up. So we decided to do our 3 favorite events we like to watch for the Summer Olympics. And I have an honorable mention list. Do you have an honorable mention list?
I can make one.
You don't have to.
Nah.
Okay, here's my honorable mention. I'll let you go with your number 3. My honorable mention in no specific order: long jump, track and field, running, sprinting, basketball, just because I love to friggin' dominate in the U.S., pounds everyone, although that's becoming less and less likely, and beach volleyball. That's my honorable mention. All right, what's number 3 for you?
So number 3, I have basketball, and it's going to be interesting to see how the U.S. fares this year with so many people complaining about the short season. I would guess a lot of players won't play from the NBA, so we could end up with like Frank Kaminsky playing for the USA team.
Lillard and Tatum are playing, I saw today.
Okay.
So that's good. Well, some scoring. Might not guard anyone, but.
But yeah, I love watching the.
All right, I'm going to go with a very niche sport. Handball.
Ooh,
handball is incredible. If you get a chance to get like the extended package so you can watch the different sports this year, you should watch handball. All right, what's number 2 for you?
For me, it would be track and field, and more specifically, the 100-meter dash would be number 2 for me.
It's awesome.
Hard to beat.
Yep. And there should be someone new this year.
And to point this out, Usain Bolt runs the 100-meter dash faster than it takes Giannis to shoot 1 free throw.
Considerably faster, actually.
Yeah, yes. So get your crap together, Giannis.
Come on, catch the ball and shoot it. My number 2, swimming. I don't know why, but I love watching swimming. I just do. Something about it. I'm no good at swimming. When those really long ones, like the one Katie Ledecky wins by like the length of the pool, I would drown on those events. That would be it for me. I would just somewhere in the middle of the pool after like
just floundering.
I could be like, oh, get a life jacket out here. I'm done. But those people are amazing. So plus the U.S. also tends to do really well at that, which makes it fun. So All right, what's your number one?
So my number one is actually swimming slash diving, and I love the high dive, which to me is
Terrifying.
terrifying. I have been off like a mini high dive, and I was like, oh my word, I'm going to die on this. And I can't imagine flipping off that, much less
The one
50
where they
times
do the
higher.
handstand on the
Yeah.
edge, and
Like
then
I'm
it's
going
like
to fall the
whoop.
wrong way, and I'm just going to be splat. Yeah, no, thank you on that, but it's really cool to watch. Also, we have one of my college roommates. His younger sister dives at Nebraska, and she was actually in the Olympic trials a couple weeks ago. I think she got 13th in that region, so obviously she's not going on to the Olympics. But I was very impressed with that. So good for you. Good job, Sarah. But yeah, swimming it's
Here,
hard to beat.
Troyer.
Yep.
All right. I'm very tired today. If you can't tell, it's my third yawn already. But I think I'm going to shock you with this one. My number one favorite is men's volleyball. Those guys hit the ball so hard. I don't know what would hurt worse, splatting off the high dive or getting hit with a spike by those guys, like right in the face. But that is incredible. So I love watching that, and it is like pure power. And some of the digs that they make, I don't know, it's amazing. So I really love all kinds of volleyball at the Olympics, and yeah, so check those out. We're excited. So, pretty up in the air for a while whether or not this was actually going to happen, and I think there are a lot of people in Japan who still wish it wasn't. But I guess it's going to happen anyways. So anyhow, all right. You want to move to baseball?
Sure.
Okay. It's been a wild week in baseball too with the they're starting to get ready to crack down on that sticky stuff we were talking about last week. And ever since they threatened to do so, batting averages and slugging are up significantly. So you can tell it's already having an effect. And spin rates on fastballs, which is all they can really officially measure because you can do different things with curveballs to mess with spin rate, are down. So people like Garrett Cole, way down. People like all the people that pitch for the Astros, when their spin rates went way up as soon as they got to the Astros, all coming down. So Tyler Glasnow, who has a partial tear in his elbow, blamed the crackdown on that because all those guys have been using sunscreen and stuff forever, and now they're trying to do different things with the ball, and it can lead to arm trouble. So thoughts?
Um, and I kind of have mixed feelings there. One, you probably shouldn't have been cheating from the get-go, and I don't really feel all that bad for you that you got either caught or had to
Sure.
change and then hurt yourself because you changed. But he has a really good point in that it probably should not have been done during the middle of the season. I mean, let people adjust in the off season so that you don't have guys getting hurt and doing weird things with their arm. The other thing that I did find was interesting was Rodon for the White Sox came out and was a little bit angry that there's going to be 10-game suspensions for people with sticky stuff, but nothing for a team that cheated to win the World Series in the Astros. The argument for that, though, is that cheating is cheating, and one cheating it doesn't really justify another cheating, and it's really unrelated anyways. Although the Astros may have been using spin rate on top of smashing things into trash cans. So, yeah, moral of the story is screw the Astros, and I'm going to stick to that until I literally die.
I'm with you. I'm with you. Yeah, anyone who knew anything, if you follow baseball really closely, like we do, we all knew this stuff was happening this offseason. Like the major leagues could have addressed it. They knew it. They've known it for several years now, actually, and they chose not to deal with it. And now everybody's paying the price for it, which is, right in line with everything Rob Manfred has done for the last however many years he's been commissioner. The guy is no good. I don't think he actually likes baseball. And I think it's going to be, we're going to have to recover from his reign as commissioner. So it's no good. We don't love you, Rob Manfred. We love baseball. One of us would be commissioner. I bet you we do it for half of what Rob Manfred does it for.
I would do it for free. And the fact that Rob Manfred doesn't like baseball and is the commissioner it's the equivalent of me being the host on The Bachelor. It is outrageous, and there would be no reason for it. No one would care. No one would watch. It's annoying to me. It's really, and the beef that him and Levitard had, if any of you that listen to the Levitard show, it was one of the greatest things of all time. So go look that up and give it a listen. And
I'm going to have to.
Rob Manfred.
I mean, look, between the two of us who both hate The Bachelor, you're the only one attractive enough to go on. So it would have to be you. And then people would be like, why are we watching this? This guy hates this.
Amanda likes it so much, she'd probably be down for
it. That's your get out of jail free card. It's not a person, it's the Bachelor.
It's just the Bachelor.
There we go.
I can go on and embarrass myself because goodness, that would be rough.
Oh, my social anxiety would kick in at a level that is.
Can you imagine me making small talk on national TV?
I would watch that season. I can tell you that. But anyhow, I did want to mention a couple things, surprising things about baseball that also make us look like idiots. We both were a hard under on the Giants at like 71 wins. They're 42-25. They are still winning the NL West with two teams we thought were going to be juggernauts: the Dodgers, who are 41-26, and the Padres, who all of a sudden can't score and are 38-32. We were right about the Diamondbacks, who are 20-48. They had, until yesterday, they lost 19 or 20 straight games on the road, which is remarkable. The NL Central is all bunched together, 4 good teams, and the Pirates, who are 23-44. That's pretty much what we thought would happen.
Oh, the Cardinals are minus 31-ish, so they may.
Yeah, the Cardinals are in trouble. Actually, they're all their starting pitching is hurt, and that's going to be a problem. The NL East is starting to look like it's the Mets, who have been all beat up. But we should mention Jacob deGrom tonight left his start with shoulder soreness, but before that, 3 innings, 8 strikeouts, no hits, no walks, and an RBI single, meaning that for the year he has 6 RBIs and 4 earned runs.
4. It's just insane.
The guy is hitting better than the people are hitting him. He is creating more runs than an entire lineups of actual hitters are creating against him. It is astounding. But the Braves have been terrible, who I thought were going to be good. The Nationals are terrible. The Marlins are terrible. And the Phillies are mediocre, like they are every single year, no matter how much money they spend. We talked about Glasnow earlier, but the Rays are still winning the AL East. And the Yankees, much to the happiness of the people on this podcast, are hovering around 500 and are terrible.
They are terrible, and my over-under bet on them going over. Not looking great.
I told you. Finishing up, the White Sox are definitely winning the AL Central. Probably won't be close. And my beloved Cleveland Indians are still 8 games over 500, and they have no good players. None. 0. Your Twins, 26-41, behind the Tigers.
They are so bad.
By the way, that was one of my locks that they were going to be under, and you had them over. So I'm going to take a victory lap on that one.
Yeah.
They might be able to win out.
Starting pitcher.
Still be right.
Yeah, I think you might actually be right.
And the A's are now up 3 games on the Astros and are 43-27. We wrote their obituary like a week into the season when they were 0-something. And since then, they've lost 5 games or something. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, they've been like 43 and like
20 or something.
Yeah.
It's not 43-9, but they've been awesome. So that's just a quick recap. We love baseball. Next week, we're going to fill out our all-star rosters, who we think should start at every position for both leagues. I didn't even tell you about that. It just came to me a few minutes ago, so I wrote it down.
Okay.
And what we'll do is we'll cross-reference that with the team we made at the start of the season, who we thought we would be the best at each position for each league, and we'll see how right we are midway through the season or so. Go ahead.
Two things I did want to point out, too. One, Vladimir Guerrero may be the best hitter in baseball at this point.
He got 22 home runs.
And he's hitting for an awesome average and just absolutely raking. I mean, he was incredibly disappointed for the first 2 years of his career, and this has been a revelation.
There he is. Autograph.
Nice.
Just bought that. Anyhow.
The one other thing I wanted to point out is we already touched on Jacob deGrom, but if you look at the ERA leaderboard, the top 5, it is a weird crew that I certainly wouldn't have predicted going into the season. It goes deGrom at 0.56. Then Kevin Gossman at 1.43, Lance Lynn at 1.51, Brandon Woodruff at 1.52, and Trevor Rogers at 1.98.
Trevor Rogers, brother of your guy on the Twins.
Taylor Rogers.
Yeah. Yep. Lynn, you could have predicted, and Woodruff maybe. I laughed at you when you suggested we should draft Woodruff in our fantasy baseball team.
Let me take a victory lap there.
Yeah, that team's 3-7. But yeah, Woodruff has been great. Lance Lynn has been great for a few years now. People just don't know. But yeah, Kevin Gossman, he'll have years where his ERA is 5 and years where his ERA is 3.5, but never 1.4. And the Giants are getting a bunch of those performances, and that's why they're 42-25. keep waiting
Yep.
for them to turn into pumpkins, and they keep not doing it. So maybe we just have to accept that they're good. I don't know. It might just be good.
I'm still not ready to do it.
I'm not either, but we'll know. 5 weeks from now, we'll probably have a pretty good idea. If they're still good in 5 weeks, you kind of have to say they're good. That's another 30 games or so from now. All right, my favorite segment, as always, things we hate. You want to go first?
Sure, and I'll go pretty quickly here because it's a bit of a rant that no one's going to care about. But
I
so
care.
I never really take PTO at work because no one backs me up. So I have to basically do my job twice when I get back that next week, and it's not really worth it. But the worst is I always tell everyone that I work with and for, so I work with all of our hiring managers that, hey, I'm going to be gone. This is who will probably not actually have time to do any of the work but this is who you need to talk to. And then I'll be back at so day, give me a day or so to catch up, blah, blah, blah. Never fails. The people that I talk to the very most that I said like 8 times before I'm gone for a week always leave me a voicemail the second that I'm gone and then follow up with like 30 voicemails, 30 emails. They get your away message every single time. And then because they got the away message 30 times, because I have to log back in every single day, reset it, otherwise it doesn't actually go out multiple times. The minute I'm back in the office, 8 a.m. on that Monday morning, phone call. If you ever listen to this, I hate you guys.
It is perplexing sometimes. I don't know. I don't know. People are the worst. They're the best, but they're also the worst. Those are my thoughts. All right, thing I hate. It's also a work thing, and it's also a pretty niche complaint. So I work at a church. I'm the children's ministry director. I'm the recreation director. So I run sports leagues, do all our children's ministry, and then in the summer we marry the two things together. We have sports camps. So every summer, and I'm running a camp of about 70 kids right now. There's 10 kids who freaking hate sports, hate them, and their parents sign them up for this camp every summer. It's different kids, but like, if you know your kid is going to hate the camp, it is literally all sports. It's all we do all day, 4 hours, sports. It's not fair to your kid to sign them up for this because they're going to hate it. It's also not fair to the staff of the camp who now has to babysit your pitiful kid because they don't like sports and they're at a camp that is all sports. It's also Florida where it's 170 degrees every day. Like, we stay inside as much as we can, but like, there are outside rotations. It's a sports camp. And you got these kids that just, look, we all have our thing. I don't get it because I'm a sports person. You don't get it either. You're a sports person. But I don't have any patience for these kids, and I have less patience for their parents. Like, there are so many camps in our area. I know our camp is cheap. I know you want to be with this beautiful face every day, but holy smokes. Like I mentioned to one of my trusted employees today, because I'm at the door welcoming the kids, and one of the mom drives by and she drops her youngest son off, who is a hurricane, and her oldest son, who cannot stand sports, stays in the van. She didn't sign him up for this camp because she's a good mom and she understands, like, he'll be miserable at the camp and he'll make other people miserable. This is a kid who last soccer season came out to me the very first practice, and he had his arms up in the air and he goes, "This is my last soccer season." He was so excited that he was never going to have to play soccer again. I was like, oh, good. It's going to be a good year. I mean, I love the kid, so it's fine. But he literally, I had to play him at forward because if he played defense, there was just a gaping hole on his side. And if he played midfield, that whole side of the field wasn't going to have someone running up and down. So I would basically have 2 forwards, and he would just pick dandelions over on the side. A couple times he got in the way of like a play that was promising because it just, like, the ball ended up where he was for a minute and he kicked it the wrong way or whatever. Anyhow, things I hate. Sign your kids up to succeed at least. Like, if you wanted to try it, sure. If you know they're going to be miserable, come on. We can do better than that. All right. I'm done. Is that good enough? Mm-hmm. All right. Do you have anything to recommend before we go into Failing Fiasco this week?
Yeah, and I couldn't remember if I recommended, I always normally do a movie and a TV show. I may have already recommended this movie, but it's one of my all-time favorites. It's called Moon. It's probably 10-ish years old. It's a sci-fi movie. It's about this guy that mans a station on the moon, and I'm going to leave out any other analysis because it'll ruin it, because it's a pretty big surprise. But it's not really scary or anything. It's just a fairly intense sci-fi movie it's fantastic. And there's not language, there's not nudity, there's not anything along those lines, I don't think. There's literally one guy on the moon. He's not just going to swear to himself, I would think. But yeah, it's really, really good. I would highly recommend it.
Okay.
TV show. If you like Stephen King, there was a TV show that was called The Outsider that came out a year or two ago. It's on HBO. Really, really, really good. It's about missing kids in Baltimore. I think I might be getting that confused with season 3 of True Detective, but it's very similar to season 3 of True Detective. I watched them both back to back, and they're very, very similar. Not quite as good as that, but highly recommended if you like crime dramas. And it gets very Stephen Kingish, so there's obviously a twist there.
Yes. All right. I don't really know that I have anything to recommend this week. Been watching the same stuff for a while. I started watching The Boys on Amazon, which is a superhero show that is insane. I don't know that I would recommend it. It's kind of tough to watch, honestly. This guy's cutting people in half with laser eyes and all kinds of craziness. So I don't know. It's not a feel-good show. It's whatever the opposite of that is. My recommendation would be, just go with some like a classic, like Zoolander or something.
Watch KD. How about that?
Yeah, watch Kevin Durant. Even though I hate the Nets, you can't take your eyes off the guy. He's unbelievable. And as always, have a cherry Coke because they're the best. All right, you got a family fiasco?
Yeah, so this actually, I was going to share this last week, but we were in a hurry. So this happened Thursday of last week. So there's music on the river every week, normally one on Friday, one on Saturday, and basically they have a concert at some person's house. Everybody pulls up in boats, and if you know the person, you go on stage, or not on stage, but to their house, and it's like a carry-in and eat food, listen to music, and they're really, really fun, especially because you can just set your boat up and listen to music. So there was one on Thursday directly across the river from us. It was a DJ, which lame. I mean, if you might as well just plug your phone into some speakers and play music really loudly, which people do constantly all weekend anyways. So we were pretty excited about it because I could watch it by the fire, watch the Nets game, have the dogs play outside. It was going to be great. It's the worst DJ I've ever heard in my life. He spent more time saying his area code, which explained that it was his birthday and that he lives somewhere up in Michigan. And then he would go from 50 Cent to straight violin music, back to some random song, back to violin music. And we were in terrible moods. Me and my friend, Dustin, who's actually one of our fairly consistent listeners. So thank you for that. So we're sitting there. We actually ended up just muting. Well, we couldn't mute the DJ. I would have liked to, but we just turned the sound up on the Nets games. We're watching the Nets games like 10:30, getting dark. He's got his dog over and realized that the dogs are no longer in the backyard, which is a problem because I live on a very main road with a ton of traffic. We have these gates, and Sullivan, for those of you who have never met Sullivan, he refuses to go through doors that are cracked unless he won't touch his sides. So he won't push anything open at all. So we don't really have this super secure gate to keep him in the backyard. It's just like a swinging metal gate that we stick like a little brick on the other side, and he'll never push that open. Unfortunately, Nora is an escape artist and did push that open. So we have two dogs. It's now pitch black that are just sprinting around the neighborhood next to a main road. Amanda is nearly in tears. I am already annoyed from 50 Cent violin. And so we're just dead sprinting down. My phone's on 1% because we've been watching the Nets game outside. Ends up about 5 minutes later, Nora just shows back up in the driveway, which thank goodness. And we saw the direction that she came. So we're like, okay, he had to have gone to the right, but there's not really anywhere for him to go to the right. So we're walking down. I'm across the road thinking maybe he took off on our walking path across the street. All of a sudden I get a call with literally 1%, like my phone's blinking, about to die. Hey, we found Sullivan. I was on my way back from being 5 houses down the road, no sidewalk or anything, just walking down the street like we're homeless. And he was just sitting in some neighbor's driveway staring at me. So Sullivan has been found. This entire fiasco is going to cost me about $800 in new collar that's GPS tracked, like a electric fence. Like you can like literally map in an electric fence anywhere, which is kind of cool. Like it'll be really nice, but it's also not very cheap. So thank you, Sullivan.
Yeah, that dog continues to cost you some serious scratch.
Mm-hmm.
Unbelievable. Well, glad he's safe. Maybe he needs to not hang out with Nora for a while. Maybe be punished a little bit. My family fiasco, I was reminded of one today. I was at sports camp, and one of the kids was talking about riding the Slinky Dog Dash ride at Universal Studios in Disney. And I was there with Micah one day. She was probably 3, maybe 4, probably 4. I don't know. She was one of those things. And she had just gotten tall enough to ride this roller coaster, and it was a pretty new one, and it's not like a Cedar Point roller coaster, but it's like a fairly significant roller coaster. It's not for like little kids, but you can be tall enough, and there's no flips or anything. So she decided she wanted to go on it, and we found a fast pass, and so we get on it, and I was like, well, I have no idea how this is going to go, but I decided to film it, and I couldn't really see her facial expression super well, but the camera captured it very well. And she was very scared. And the look on her face is like sheer terror. And then like it would slow down a little bit, or like she would be close to the ground. And then she would smile, and then it would speed up again. And then it would be like sheer terror again. And yeah, it was not my best parenting moment. And I felt really bad. And she didn't want to ride any roller coasters for a while after that. He now is very excited to try it again if we ever get back to Disney World. But it was not great, and I felt very bad. And so I was watching the video again today, and I was like, oh, goodness gracious. Hi, Amanda. But yeah, it was not a great day. She smiled at the end, but it was a fake smile. She definitely did not have a good time. So.
Dad of the Year award going on.
Dad of the Year. Well, I haven't done a card corner for a while. There are a couple guys I'm excited about right now. This is the end, by the way, if you want to sign off. This guy, I'm telling you, Julio Rodriguez, hitting absolute bombs in the minor leagues. He is going to be really good. Don't buy Kelenic if you're going to buy Mariners. Buy this guy. I'm telling you. All right, this is a very good card here. Couple grand. And then we got to mention our guy, Vlad Jr., taking the American League by storm. Guy is unbelievable. Definitely the AL MVP right now as it stands. Sorry, Ohtani, you're off. You did hit a homer last night. So anyhow, I think that's it. We've done a good job streamlining these episodes. No more hour and 20-minute episodes. Maybe we'll keep a few fans around. Yeah, we will. Well, next week we've got to do our all-star lineup and stuff. So
yeah, that's going to take some time.
It'll be a little more geeky baseball next week. If you hate baseball, maybe skip to the end. Yeah, and also get a life. Baseball is the best. Rob Manfred, we're talking to you. Come on. All right. We thank you guys for listening. If you're listening, and if you're not, you won't hear this. See you later.